Welcome back to Film Recaps. Today, I will show you a wrongdoing satire film from 2016 named War Dogs. Spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and take care. In the year 2005, David Packhouse is a 22-year elderly person residing in Miami and filling in as an authorized rub advisor. However, he's burnt out on bringing in cash from contacting old rich man. He dropped college after one semester, had a spat with his folks, and quit or got terminated from 6 unique positions. Thus, his choices are restricted. Going through his time on Earth reserve funds on great bed sheets to exchange to retirement homes hasn't worked out either, on the grounds that the proprietors of retirement homes couldn't care less with regards to providing older individuals with a decent personal satisfaction. One evening time during a memorial service, he reconnects with Ephraim Concede, his dearest companion from school, who he hasn't found in years. Ephraim had been living in LA with his uncle working in the arms managing business, yet his uncle has taken some cash from him. So Ephraim chose to come to Miami to go into business, called sometime hanging out. They halted to get some pot, yet Ephraim gets deceived out of his cash by people hanging out by his vendor's house as revenge. He takes out an automatic rifle from his vehicle truck and shoot it at the sky, frightening everybody off. This causes truly an impact on David, who is worn out on getting poo from individuals and appreciates those that defend themselves. The next day, David visits Ephraim at his office. Also, his regard develops when he sees him in real life, imitating a military official to discover what gets his opposition are going for. Since he doesn't just sell firearms on the web, he likewise offers to the USA government. The cash he makes from it is very great, and since they are pals of all time, chooses to show David how it functions. The public authority has a public site containing each tactical agreement, right now in the mood for offering, and Ephraim disregards the huge ones that enormous organizations are battling about to get a little agreements. Everybody disregards. The thing is, with regards to managing a Pentagon, even the littlest agreement is worth millions. In the wake of eating with Ephraim, David goes home and discovers his significant other is pregnant. This makes him go crazy, reasoning he can't accommodate a child. In this way, when he meets with his companion once more, and Ephraim offers him to work with him right away, David doesn't need anything to do with the thought. Seeing as he and his are against this conflict, they even go to meetings and marked petitions, yet Ephraim flatters him into adjusting his perspective in some way, persuading in this wouldn't mean turning out to be favorable to war. Thus David acknowledges everything he says to us. Notwithstanding, is that they'll offer sheets to the army, not weapons. So she's completely strong. David ranges the accompanying a month and a half, advancing by any stretch of the imagination about the arms managing business, exploring the public authorities page for great neglected arrangements, and chatting on the telephone with weapon makers from Eastern Europe. They call folks like them more canines, bottom dwellers, who bring in cash off of war without ever venturing foot on the combat zone. Ephraim has one silent partner, Ralph Slutsky, a nearby money manager and proprietor of 14 cleaners across Miami. He is the one that furnishes them with financing in return for 25% of the organization, or possibly what he believes is 25%. Ralph is additionally being deceived not just with regards to the genuine numbers they are making, yet about their aims. He thinks Ephraim, such as himself, is perceptive Jewish and needs to ensure Israel. So they don't tell him, they offer to each side of the conflict. Similarly, the additional time he spends in the business, the better David becomes at it, and he figures out how to reach out to Henry Gerard, the greatest provider to the two sides of the contention throughout the previous 20 years, following a bombed night spent at a bar where Ephraim gets punched for hitting on some unacceptable young lady. They go to a coffee shop where they get a call that affirms they got the Beretta bargain, which comprises of giving a few thousand Beretta guns to the Iraqi police in Baghdad. A couple of days after the fact, David and his craft, the specialist, helping the initial glance at their child through a ultrasound and discover it's a young lady. Their little second is interfered. Nonetheless, when David gets a call from Captain Phillips Santos, who is stressed over another Asian that boycotts all arms shipments to Iraq from Italy, where the Beretta guns are, David didn't know about this new law, yet this is a significant arrangement. So he lies until Santos. They have everything taken care of. Fortunately, Ephraim finds out about how to settle it. They will send the guns from Italy to Jordan, a country they have no meat with, and from Jordan they can send them to Iraq sometime thereafter. David in his or hosting a supper gathering where a portion of his companions cautioned David to be cautious with regards to Ephraim in light of the fact that he was the one that took cash from his uncle and not the reverse way around. Talking about Satan, Ephraim enters the loft. Exact second, getting a piece envious in light of the fact that he wasn't welcomed. David talks with him secretly, and in the wake of clarifying this as his party with her companions and not his, Ephraim lets him know the urgent issue. Jordanian customs have held on to their firearms. Captain Santos knows this as well and calls them, then, at that point, to request a clarification and undermines them with dropping them for cause in the event that they don't convey. Getting dropped for cause implies they would blacklist their organization and they wouldn't get an agreement at any point down the road. So they need to sort out an answer straight away. Their discussion is heard by his Huadates out when she at long last learns her significant other is an arm stealer and tells him she believes she can't confide in him any longer. Unfortunately, David doesn't have the opportunity to sort things out with her since he and Ephraim need to travel to Jordan quickly. Once there, they get no assistance from the international safe haven since their flying authorization has terminated. So in the wake of paying off local people to deliver their freight, they employ a driver called Marlborough, known as the best smuggler in the country, to drive him to Iraq so they can convey the actual weapons. David is stressed over the security of such an excursion, however Ephraim tells him it'll be speedy and they'll be there before sunup. So there's nothing to stress over. In the center of the evening, they showed up at the Iraqi boundary and the watch halted him. However, Marlborough effortlessly paid off them with cigarettes, guaranteeing that is additionally the freight they're conveying. So they're permitted to cross without any issues. David and Ephraim nod off after that, and when they get up in the first part of the day, they observe the truck has halted before an unwanted service station. While Marlborough tops off the gas Canada from pisses, David gets a call from Miss who tells him she's at last seen how much tension he is under and why he's taking this work. She simply needs him to guarantee he'll never mislead her again, which he acknowledges while as yet telling her that he's at the inn. Out of nowhere he wants to hang up on her since he sees a gathering of outfitted agitators coming after them. So David cautions Ephraim and he rapidly gets back on the truck, making it start with a couple of drops of gas. It has left, yet it won't endure long. There's no an ideal opportunity to pause and hang tight for Marlborough. So they make him pursue them until he approaches to the point of hopping into the rear of the truck and fill the tank. As they move, the guerrillas begin taking shots at them, and briefly the threesome thinks they won't make it, yet fortunately they're saved by the unexpected apparition of the American Army, who frightens the radicals off. They come to the Army installation without any issues and squeeze in Captain Santos by having made do through the triangle of death. In the wake of taking some selfies with the freight, they get compensated and are accompanied to the air terminal by a gathering of officers so they can securely leave Baghdad. What's more, this arrangement has as of now made them large chunk of change, yet it has likewise placed them on the guide. So the organization just continues to develop from that point, getting them increasingly more cash. Consistently, they purchase matching powers, 2 condos in a similar structure, and even consume every one of the sheets David had purchased involved. Ralph is so content with his profits that he builds his investments, and this permits them to extend the organization, recruiting a lot of representatives to work for themselves and think that they are more arrangements. This gives David more opportunity to enjoy with his infant, despite the fact that Ephraim appears to develop more shaky constantly. One evening, David finds the army has posted would become known as the Afghan arrangement. A mother-loving immense request that incorporates insane numbers like 100 million rounds of AK-47 ammo. It would be a phenomenal chance for them. So they choose to venture out to Nevada and go to Vegas at a show where makers flaunt their most recent in warfare. Unfortunately, it's a finished debacle. Regardless of whether they could land such an arrangement, it would be an enormous mess. A little organization like theirs can't organize many various producers from one side of the planet to the other. Some other time, when David is at a club playing a few cards to occupy himself from their disappointment, he's drawn closer by Henry Gerard, a legend among arms vendors. David goes to get a firm and they meet Henry at an eatery to talk about the arrangement over supper. It turns out Henry can take care of the entire request since he has contacts in Albania, A country that went through many years getting ready for a Western invasion, that won't ever come. So presently they're perched on great many unused weapons prepared to be exchanged. They're hoping to dispose of it or they'll transform it into scraps. So Henry can get it for inexpensively. He's the main specialist with admittance to the entire thing. It sounds unrealistic. So are from ponders? Why Henry isn't offering on the arrangement himself. Henry can. Says he's banned from doing any business with the US government since he's on a fear watch list. This oddity's out. David, who would rather not work with such a sort of individual, however, Ephraim brings up to him. This is actually the sort of individuals they've been buying. It can even get everything rolling. Nonetheless, the organization must be considered by the public authority. So David and Exertion start producing all the desk work and accounting they never did before today. After 14 days, they go to Rock Island to meet with acquisition officials from the US military, and they are so anxious with regards to it that they smoke some solid pot prior to entering the structure. The gathering works out in a good way, in their desk work is supported, however Ephraim actually becomes furious. At the point when he hears they were picked in light of the fact that they lowballed the opposition, meaning they might have charged more than $50 million more. At the point when David gets back and lets us know he'll leave for Albania for a month. She takes is it better than he anticipates? Yet, that is on the grounds that she's going to take off from for his mom's home with a child. His irate in light of the fact that she's observed the photos of David in Iraq, and that implies he's been misleading her once more, attempting to quiet her down. David's "where's that" is the last thing he's lied about, however, at that point is uncovers. She is familiar with something different. A few packs of cash. He had concealed under the sink without telling her, seeing as he can't quit lying his leaves with the child prior to traveling to Albania. Ephraim gives David a gold projectile as a debt of gratitude is in order for having forfeited such a huge amount for the organization, and David shows him the association arrangement. He's composed.